start. All right, we'll call it to order. Roll call shows that we have 4 of the counselors. We don't have Counselor Schulte yet. Hopefully he'll pop in. But other folks we've got present. We've got City Attorney Chris Hood. We've got Parks Manager Dave Tierstig, Kim Dunsmore, who is the Finance Director, Mike Roth, City Administrator, Patrick Knight, Communications Director. So it's good to go through that every once in a while and just make sure everybody knows the faces. All right. So we're going to open the open forum. We actually received 1 letter from the open forum, of which I believe Patrick is going to read that to us. And then following that, if anyone else has received any messages, then go ahead and indicate it and share it. Hey, Craig's here. Great. Fabulous. All right, go ahead, Patrick. Take it away.
Can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To Mayor J. Aerosmith DeCue and Grand Marais City Council, at your last City Council meeting, you made a policy decision about snowmobile use on the pedestrian paths along Highway 61. I'm disappointed that there was little to no discussion from council members about how this will affect local residents who have come to rely on this pedestrian corridor on a daily basis. And so I would like to offer my perspective as a serial pedestrian in Grand Marais. Beginning this winter, the north side of the highway was cleared for pedestrians while the south side was left unplowed for snowmobiles. Clearing the north side path for pedestrians over the south side was logical because it reduced the number of crossings pedestrians made to reach destinations along the highway, and it reduced interactions between snowmobiles and pedestrians. This configuration had also better aligned with the goals of the Grand Marais Pedestrian Plan, which states the city will aim to improve pedestrian access and safety within the city. Consider the following. Nearly all Grand Marais residents live on the north side of the highway. There are few sidewalks on the residential streets in Grand Marais and none on the east end of town. The most direct route to many common destinations is along the highway, and the surveys conducted for the Grand Marais Pedestrian Plan indicate that paths along Highway 61 are high priority for pedestrian use and snow removal. Now that pedestrian use has been deferred to the path on the south side of the highway, a pedestrian aiming to walk from their home to a destination such as the post office must cross Highway 61 4 times to accomplish this. First from the north to south at their residential street, second back north again to the post office, third back to the south side, and fourth to the north side once again at their residential street. I use the north side path along the Highway 61 3 to 4 times per day to walk, run, and do errands. Crossing to the south side for each of these outings significantly increases the number of times I must cross highway traffic, many times at night given the nature of daylight hours in the winter. Additionally, not all streets have crosswalks painted across the highway, 3rd Avenue East. A few questions from your discussion. There was mention of increased degradation of the concrete surface by snowmobiles. How much of an increase is the timeline for replacement 1, 5, or 25 years? To reduce total road crossings by snowmobilers, could a traffic sign be placed by the gunflint where the snowmobilers would cross to the south side of Highway 61? Could the speed limit be reduced to 30 miles per hour prior to the intersection of Highway 61 and the Gunflint Trail to make the intersection safer for pedestrians, snowmobiles, and cars? Has the City Street Department been involved in these discussions? Since the last few snowfalls, neither path along the highway has been cleared and snowmobiles are using the sidewalk on both sides, which leaves no option for safe pedestrian travel. I'm urging the City Council to reconsider their snow removal policy and give more thought to the safety of pedestrians. Respectfully, Emma Spoon. You're muted, Jay.
Thank you.
Jay, did we not also get a letter from Andrea Orest?
No, maybe we did. If you have that handy there.
Sorry. We also got, I believe, maybe 5 of us got a letter from Chuck Heller. Did anyone else get that? I saw it went to 5 recipients, but I don't see who. In support of what we had done.
I got that one. You want,
Yeah, it looks like that one came through. Yeah.
you want me to read that, or should I send it to Patrick and have him read it?
Do we need to maybe add this, a little bit of this discussion again to the agenda? I feel like there's some things missing, some history things missing, and I had somebody else contact me about the point of that some of the last snowfalls, things are not cleared, the south side's not cleared, the bump outs are not cleared very well. I have driven around twice since the last snowfall, all the way up to the RV here at Coral's place, all the way out to the new Gunflint Trail. And I'm wondering if maybe we just need to talk about this a little bit and what our actual policy is on cleaning, if we want to throw that in after at the end, so that we don't have to make Dave hang out.
Yeah,
Would
I
it be
think
all right?
that's a good idea to pop that into the agenda as well.
Would it be okay if we put it on the next agenda so that we could invite the streets department to participate in the conversation?
I'm good with that.
I think that would probably be my preference too, because then we have a little bit more time to gather more comments, if there are more comments coming, and also just to gather some more information about what we're talking about. Like right now, I haven't done a lot more researching into spaces or talk to people on either side of this this situation. So it might be good for us to take the next little bit. I mean, we can still talk to people about clearing sidewalks as we had indicated. I think that would be appropriate because that's the action that we chose at the last meeting. But we can definitely, if that works for everyone, let's put it on the next meeting agenda, and then we can gather some more information, have a little bit more of a conversation with information. Does that work?
I guess I'm fine pushing it onto the next meeting agenda, but I guess, I mean, without the last meeting, we talked about clearing the south side, and I noticed again today it still hadn't been done since the snowfall a week ago. So, I mean, if we're going to change it, that's fine, but I mean, seems like there should be some place that we maintain.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, I think we should still give the order, or make sure that it's clear, the policy indication that we made at the last meeting, so that we can have that infrastructure at least maintained in some way, shape, or form, as per that motion that we made. So, okay. So do we want to read? We should probably read Andrea's public comment. I pulled that one up. I don't know if Patrick, if you don't have that one up, then I'll just go ahead and read it, and then we can. And then
I don't have that one.
Okay, so I'll just read that one. It's from.
Well, and
Andrea.
if we're going to read all of them, Jay, the Heller one should be read as well.
Yeah, you want to do that after I'm done with Andrea's then?
No problem.
We can.
Okay. All right. So this is from Andrea Orist. She presented last meeting for us. I would like to ask the county commissioners and city council members to consider supporting Safe Routes to School by becoming trained in the Walk Bike Fun curriculum. 2 of the 3 parts are virtual, so it makes the program more accessible to our community, as attendees typically have to travel for an all-day event. This is the program we use for in-school bike education in the schools, and it is the foundation for the annual Bike Safety Rodeo in May. I have included the information to register in this email and would be happy to answer any questions you may have. As trained educators, you could support in-school bike education by volunteering in schools during the week of in-school bike education, typically held in May at GES and Sawtooth Mountain Elementary. Thank you for your consideration. Andrea Orris, Safe Routes to School Coordinator, SHIP Coordinator. And then the information is below. I've done the training. It's really fun. It's fun to see the kids and work with the kids on the bikes and stuff. So I think she's trying to get as many people trained as she possibly can. So that's it's always a good thing for our community. Anyway, that's that one. So Kelly, Patrick, which one of you guys is going to read the one from Heller?
I've got it. Hello. By way of introduction, after years of visiting and hoping for the day my wife and I finally made the move up from the cities to live out our lives in your town this past May, my grandma lived here when I was a kid, just a block and a half from where we are now. It's been the place where I've been the happiest since I was 3 to 4 years old. My wife and I got engaged here. Regarding snowmobiles in town. For what it's worth, I'm something of an outlier. I'm not an avid rider or anything, but it took up 4 or 5 years ago. But I took it up 4 or 5 years ago when friends started inviting me up to the Brainerd area to ride, and I finally brought my own machine last year. And I'm a liberal's liberal. Yes, the guilt is real. I appreciate and share support concerns for the environment, and just as much so for pedestrians and traffic and noise in town. But I can't help it. Riding is fun. I can drive out of a shed in my yard and be alone in the middle of nowhere in the quiet in minutes. Friends are planning their winter visits for when COVID is over. I know you all have to be aware that sledders have to be one of the primary drivers of area commerce during the winter months. I would think you must strive to make sure it remains an attractive destination for riders. There's plenty of competition out there, so safety. I read someone's comment this morning which pointed out that there's never been a serious accident with the current layout of the trail through town. I don't know if it's accurate, but if so, it's telling. My concern since reading about the changes being considered has been the idea of riders routinely crossing 61. Frankly, someone will die, I'm sure of it. Could be me, and it could be one of you that hits one of them. It doesn't take an experienced rider to tell you that control and traction are both severely degraded on relatively dry or clear pavement. They are further degraded when you add patches of hard ice on the pavement or small berms of plowed snow on either side of the road. I've crossed roads in the Brainerd area and sat with my belt drive slipping and skis pointed haphazardly as traffic bore down on me in conditions where they wouldn't have had the best control or traction either. It's a perfect recipe for disaster. In my mind, the path from gas to the trails must remain on the north side of 61. Surely creative people can come up with a way to keep everyone safe and contentedly coexisting. Safety and directional signage, barriers between sled paths and pedestrians, maybe adjustments to the route, but please do not force riders to cross 61. Thank you for listening. Sincerely, Chuck Heller.
All right. Does anyone else have any public comment to put in that time? Thank you to the public for sharing your thoughts. That's good input for us to hear. Okay, we're going to move right along. So, consent, typical 3 things. This meeting's agenda. I do not believe we have anything to add. Approve the meeting minutes from the previous meeting, and then payment of bills for the last cycle. Unless there's something to add or something to pull for discussion, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I would so move.
There's a motion. Is there a second for that? Don't all jump at once.
I'll second.
Okay, we got Craig for the second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, go through the roll call vote. Let's see if it's the same thing. Yep, it's alphabetical. Anton, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
All right, and I am an aye as well, and that is unanimous. So we will move along to the parks update. So this is why we've got Dave here. So Dave, you've got 2 things to talk to us about. One is the DNR boat launch project, and the other is the park master plan, just to review and make sure that we understand what it is. So with all that said, jump in. Excited to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me on. And I saw the agenda, I saw the order of things, and I believe they're a little bit maybe out of order because the master plan came first. That was 2009. And the Parkside Public Access Plan and project is a direct result of the master plan, actually. So I think for the sake of history here, we should start with the master plan. Is everyone all right with that? Great. And we have little bit of a map here I'd like to start with. Everybody see this?
Not yet. Not yet.
Nope.
There we go. Chrome wants to share the contents. I'm trying to share, but it's not allowing. I was hoping that wouldn't work. Well, everyone's got the plan. Everyone's got the map in their packet. Maybe we'll have to work it the old-fashioned way if everyone could refer to that. I'll try it one more time.
Patrick, you got any insights?
Dave, there's like two
Here it
different.
comes. Bingo.
There we go.
Right. So the first thing we'll note, September 24th, 2009 is when this thing was adopted. It's a park board recommendation, but it was adopted somewhere around this time frame. I looked back in the files and we had multiple versions. All of them kept adding things like this little NOAA symbol and the coastal grant. And so this, to me, is the final version of what is a concept map depicting the recreation area, the rec park, and the land use. And really, I think if you had a chance to look through the FAQs, there was quite a bit of explanation as to what we were trying to depict here, the level of detail. It's very high level. It's a concept map that's showing broad sections of use of the land. We have the harbor, obviously, and the marina. You'll notice no planning. And so if there's one distinction to be made for this master plan, it's that it is mostly focused on the land side campground, and the marina was purposely left out of the planning process. This we certainly allowed for the facilities, for the landside marina facilities to exist, and even went so far as to depict some improvements of the bulkhead down there. But during this plan, which took about, a good 10 months, we purposely stayed off the water when it came to the marina. The park board at the time held a number of public planning sessions. You can see all that in the FAQs, just how many we did and how many folks showed up. And it was very successful, I thought, in terms of public involvement. I was new to the organization at the time. I became parks manager in 2008. So this was really one of my first ventures into public planning and park master planning. And I was impressed at the turnouts where we would see, 20, 30, 40 folks at the open houses giving feedback and giving public input. So I want to say we took our time with this. We went through multiple iterations. You see this 5.1 is sort of a sequential look at, we started with a 1.0. And so throughout that 10-month process, there was, take 2, take 3, take 4, take 5. And so this, was the compromise plan. I will say there was a pretty strong public support for an east side over here in the marina area that showed no campsites. When I look back on some of the 4.0 versions, there was a real battle between the status quo of camping on both sides of the 8th Avenue Road versus the idea of a campground out west and a public space, an open space on the east. And yet, at the end of the day, the park board, the majority vote, decided on this idea of a status quo or a more or less unchanged campground layout with east and west. But a number of items here I think we should maybe focus on, and those are the community connection corner up in the folk school, east side, this little purple dot. This was very clearly identified as the entrance and the exit to and from the park by both the users and the community members. And at the time, there wasn't a clear entrance, exit. It was campsites in this corner. And so we heard loud and clear from the community that they would like to open up this corner and make it a very welcoming entrance, something with appeal. A pocket park was the intent here. And it was one of our first projects as far as building out the master plan. We started with the community connection. The stormwater management was needed here. And so in 2011, 2012, and then finally 2013, we executed the timber frame bridge and the settling collection ponds and the ADA compliant switchback trail that connected the bike trail in this community connection corner. And it was very much a phase one approach to things. We knew we wanted to put something with some pop and some curb appeal up on the corridor just off of the highway right away. And so we had this phase two idea of a landing and a platform and steps and everything we're now getting closer to with the Highway 61 construction and what we have seen in the last few years with the idea of perhaps building out that community connection landing up on the bike trail highway right away. So that was the east side. That's what we started with first. Then the attention fell to the boat ramp down here in the southwest corner. You can see there was multiple plans that reviewed the idea of a boat ramp being in this corner where it currently exists, or possibly locating it up in improvements to the marina facility. The vote was to continue to offer boat access down at the end of the road at the existing boat ramp. And so the DNR took note of that in 2012, and we began working with them on what is the Parkside Public Access Project, and we'll get to that next. But just to give you the idea that this was voted on, approved, decided to stay down in the southwest corner of the park and, you know, utilize the existing ramp area. It was very popular at the time with the community. Everybody preferred this ramp to the one across the bay at the Coast Guard. But there's lots of other things going on down here. You see the event pavilion and you see a shared parking lot. And that was not conducive with the DNR's plans. The exclusive use of the parking lot to support the boat ramp was one of their requirements to be able to come on board for funding, and the partnership agreement that the DNR would create this as the official public access in town. But just like across the bay at the Coast Guard where parking is unavailable, they didn't want to risk that same opportunity for the public to come in and have a big event and park out all the spots and the anglers not having parking. So the event pavilion was a very conceptual piece of this plan. There was no square footage to it. There was no pro forma to it. It was simply an idea and a concept, and it was not compatible with the boat launch. And so part of that boat launch planning relocated the event pavilion out of the park. There was official motions by both the park board and the city councils to consider an event pavilion, but elsewhere, possibly Boulder Park, possibly the Coast Guard parking lot area. If and when these boat launch facilities were to switch, the pavilion could be featured over on the east side of the harbor. So this area we'll look at as a Parkside public access plan, but you can see from this master plan that it's changed quite a bit. The pool area, we are proud to say, was another success of this plan. The city and the county had been working for years on solutions to the municipal pool. At the time, it was very aged and needed a lot of money to rebuild or repair. And the county was also in with the community center revitalization plan. They were looking to expand the community center, possibly at a pool, possibly at a ball field. And so the park board and the city agreed that the location up at the community center is just fine when it comes to large land intensive facilities like ball fields and pools. And so they were willing to let the pool go. They were willing to let the ball field go. The park board was. We knew they were valuable components to the park, and they brought the public down, non-campers down. And so we wanted to, continue to offer service to the public, like the public access, like the community connection. And so it wasn't a light decision, but the idea of moving the pool out of the park was very much a part of this plan. And the funding with the county, of course, everything changed a bit. It wasn't a community center project, it was the YMCA project. But in 2013, the pool was, I believe, replaced or demolished, is about my recollection of the timeline for when the pool closed and the new pool opened up at the Y. Another piece across the street from the pool would be this park office area where The plan shows a very ambitious building, a very kind of showpiece visitor center, marina office, campground office. You know, once again, no strict details on size and square footage, but a concept of a very nice big visitor center building with very easy parking and in and out and circle turns and all this idea for easy access for the guests. That, yes, it would be great if we had millions of dollars. In the meantime, our little blue house was getting very tired in terms of trim and roof and windows. And so in 2015, we made the decision to reinvest in the little park office. We did about $100,000 refit of our park office with new windows and new siding and insulation, all sorts of energy efficiency upgrades, with the idea that, you know, we're doing just fine with our little building as it is. And so as a departure from the master plan, this still remains a vision, I think, especially the traffic flow and the traffic easing, as it still gets very congested in this area in the summer. So the final piece I'll talk about is the ball field area. These red sites, about 60 or 70 of them or so. And the idea here was to replace the ball field up at the community center. You can see the language in the goals and policies that if and when a suitable replacement for the ball field was to be created up on the county land by the school, then we would get out of the ball field business and redevelop that area as campsites. The indication at the time was that these would be perhaps the seasonal sites, that would be a suitable neighborhood for our monthly seasonal campers that are interested in maybe uniform size lots, and the lake view's not so prominent. So this is sort of the back corner that we could host more of a seasonal neighborhood in. It hasn't panned out. The county wasn't able to replace the ball field. The cost was very prohibitive. I recall like $800,000-$900,000 amounts for a replacement ball field up at in the community center zone because of wetlands and slope and everything else and bedrock. And so that didn't come to fruition as far as a suitable replacement. In the meantime, the ball field has remained. It's very popular. It's very busy when the ball season is in swing. We don't have enough ball fields in the two that we currently have. So it's difficult to look at this area and think what the future holds. It still has programming for a bigger playground. The rec hall, the rec building is actually relocated from where it sits about here now, with the idea that this becomes the heart of the campground. And we have our bathhouse 4 out here. This little brown building is our newest bathhouse, even though it's going on 15 years. But this was to be sort of the central campground gathering zone for families and recreation, taking some of the pressure off of the area by the office. You will see the bathhouse 3 right here is called to be an expanded toilet. That's kind of a crude way to say like a rebuilt, bigger facility. And yeah, obviously a lot of change in this slope and this neighborhood around the office that hasn't come to fruition. We've just kept up on maintenance with our existing bathhouse. We've got a little blue bathhouse here right now that's in pretty good shape, as well as the bathhouse number 1 up here that really had called for no changes. So most of the sites remain as such, like the primitive loop is up here in the woods. All these sites are currently in place throughout this west side. All the sites I'm showing you now haven't changed configuration. It's just the additional sites in the ball field area and the reconfigured east side if and when there's any sort of shoreline marina improvements. I will say 321 total campsites was a very important number throughout this planning process. We heard numerous times to not lose our site count, not go down on the site count. We currently have 300 sites. And so because of the economics and the sort of the multiplier in terms of the town's desire to remain in this 300 campsite neighborhood, that's where 321 was everybody was okay with that number. We delineated the wetlands out in the coastal wetlands area and put in some future trail. The red line is not currently a system of trails. It's a future trail corridor. But you know, there's Out in the sledding hill, out in Sweetheart's Bluff, I believe some of this trail work has been done when we added the Lake Loop Trail, but we don't have a motorized trail corridor like we used to up in the old power line cut, and we don't have this harbor trail that would flow around the marina and the Fish House Museum. Well, that's another piece of this. The Fish House and the tug, that currently sits here at the end of the channel, the old Niji and the recreated Fish House, it sits out over the water. And so to make room for marina facilities, there was just kind of a shifting down the shoreline of the Historical Society's assets. And we've met with the Historical Society numerous times over the years with the idea that this is just not a good spot for their pieces. And so, it was a placeholder, I think, more than anything. If and when it needs to move out of the corner, we'll be doing much more planning. So that is the concept of the master plan. That's the overhead map view. I guess I should stop for questions now. I've been talking quite a bit.
Dave, do we have any current slatings of bathhouse rebuilds, remodels coming up in the next couple of years?
Nothing's officially scheduled as far as Bathhouse 3 and the rebuild there. We've been talking about it for a couple of years now. It's a priority. It's a capital priority. So it's just a matter of engaging the architects and the engineers and coming up with the plan. I think because the current Bathhouse 3 is very serviceable and we've kept up on paint and fixtures and amenities there isn't a pressing need in terms of the existing facilities are in very good shape. We've been very proactive in, $1,000 fixes, so no, we don't have a firm plan for replacement of Bathhouse 3. We're a little leery. I'm the first one to say I don't want to pay, $1 million for a new bathhouse facility when the existing facility is serving us just fine. We're not getting complaints from customers, so there isn't that pressing need for it. And I think that's why we're not scheduling it.
Has Bathhouse, I can't remember when I drive by, has Bathhouse 2 been redone in the last 20 years?
It sure has, Kelly. That's been our little hobby because it's small and easy to fix up because of its size. We've put a new roof on it. We've resided it. We put in all new fixtures. We just did new epoxy flooring in the showers, which make it, very nice. And so for, $5,000 here, $2,000 there, we've been able to really keep up on that. And I think all our bathhouses have had that annual maintenance of, replacing the FF&E as it wears out. And we've kept up on roofs and paint. And so, yeah, we have very satisfied guests when it comes to our bathhouses. We keep them clean. That's the bottom line. Even for the older facilities, they're clean. They're very serviceable.
Thank you.
So we should maybe quickly look at the goals and policies, the written component of the master plan. Everybody seeing these?
Yep, coming up.
Yep, everybody see them? So these were, I think, very well put together, despite their simplicity. You see a lot of these master plans and they're just 50 pages and it's 45 pages of fluff and then 5 pages of good goals and policies. And so if there's anything to be said for our master plan, we skipped the fluff, we went right to the goals and policies, and we've been living them. We've been respecting them. We've been referring to them when needed. I very much kept this document alive and relevant when we approach the park board and we're looking at new ideas and new projects. We go right to this and we think, does it fit in the master plan? Is it addressed in the goals? Is it, and this is some of these, number 2 is a very important one for me. And the idea that when we develop things, they're going to be a high standard for design, material, sustainability, functionality. That's always what we're looking for when we're replacing stuff, when we're adding solar hot water to bathhouses. That sort of goal 2 is very important for us because we know Grand Marais is special. We know this place is special. And so when we're looking at improvements, we are always looking for the best for the money and something that's going to complement this amazing location. The same goes for the staff. We want the highest levels of hospitality. And so I'm very proactive in training and reminding staff that, you know, people expect a lot from us because of our location, because we're with the city and we're municipal and we have funds available to do good work. I really respect goal 2. You know, goal 1 obviously is like the sort of catch-all that will be in line with the rest of the plans. You know, the city's got comp plans, and we certainly want to fit in with that. We're very pleased to be relocating the power plant. That's already happened. The storage buildings, you know, the electrical, all that's going away soon. So goal 1 is definitely always on our mind when we're looking at development down at the Parkside area. I like goal 6 is something we're just now into with the park board. Goal 6 comes up a lot. Recreation parks should generate revenue direct to the city and to a visitor-based local economy. We just looked at this last week with the park board items 6.2, exploring a lottery or other means to rotate and charge premiums for highest value RV spaces. So, you know, when it comes to the business we're in and the generation of revenue, goal 6 has got us covered. We do a lot of good marketing, and we participate in the Visit Cook County Marketing Group, which is certainly a destination marketing organization. Goal 7 talks about the pool. We are, like we say, in support of the pool with the county now. It's interesting to see the policy 7.2 things have kind of flipped here, where it used to be that we were paying it all, the county would maybe chip in $5,000, and now it's the other way around. So it's nice to see that we continue to work with the county on a lot of our recreation amenities. Then we are definitely respectful of the resources down here. Goals 8, 9, and 11 talk about the conservation easement and the wetlands and the historic resources. Everything we do, we like to go back to the master plan and make sure it works. And I like these 12 goals. The last one was, I could say, had a lot to do with the ball field leaving, right? It was the idea that we're down in the water and our uses, you know, is it something that's dependent on the water like a marina, or is it a large open space like a ball field? So the goals and policies, I like their simplicity, and like I say, we are often referring back to them. Questions on those?
When do you see revisiting the master plan and updating? This one obviously is September of 2009. We're now moving into almost 12 years later, and I'm not saying obviously it's rewritten, but it's reevaluated and updated.
Yep, that's right, Kelly. And so we already, about 3 years ago, we knew we needed to, when we started down the road of regional park designation with the Greater Minnesota Regional Parks and Trails District, so that to qualify for legacy money, we need to be a regionally significant park. And a couple of years ago, we did the initial application for regional significance as a scoring tool for, are we scoring high for that? Are we scoring low? Is it worth going the next step, which is a revised master plan, a robust master plan, so that we were scored quite high. We had a high ranking for regional significance, the park, the recreation area. But the notes from the score from the panel was our marina and our access to Lake Superior is really what makes us significant, right? Like, you can have a campground, you can go RV camping at Split Rock or at Cascade. I mean, there's multiple state park opportunities for camping, but there's very few marina opportunities on Lake Superior. And so, sort of reading between the lines on the regional significance, the marina is why we're significant. And perhaps ironically enough, the marina is what's missing from the master plan. And the park board we talked about this a couple of years ago, saying, you know, if we want to go and get this regional significance, we need to revisit the master plan. The Parks and Rec Board has a template for what a master plan should have. It's about 12 or 15 items. When I put ours together with those requirements, we had about half of them covered, so that we knew we had our work cut out for us. If we wanted to go for regional significance, we needed to re-engage the master planning process, and we needed to include the marina in that. We haven't done that.
I know it's been probably some time since it's happened, and I know in the last 25 years, they've probably, I'll say 30 to 35. The DNR has tried, what, 3 times to have a safe harbor here, and every time it seems to fail. But is any of that being even thought about that would fit in order for us to then gain that designation to obviously have some sort of an actual marina, you know, rebuild? Obviously, the DNR is coming and fixing the boat ramp. We had talked years ago about expanding a marina to that area, which isn't happening. But is there any thought of that for the safe harbor designation and the funds that would be available to us?
So a couple of things. The last failed safe harbor process was 2006, and that, to me, was why the marina was left out of the 2008, 2009 master plan. The wounds were just too fresh. And because that was a very contentious 2004, 5, 6, you know, season of safe harbor planning, it ended on such a sour note that we recognized that in 2008 and we stayed out of the water. Now, I know the city council did fine work sort of reconciling the community's wishes with the marina in a compromise that did not really include a large safe harbor build out idea. It was more of a modest sort of make the most of your current position of in keeping the marina up here in the northwest corner of the harbor adjacent to the park. Seemed acceptable at the time in 2009. The dock configuration and the breakwater and you know, the rest of that is what needs to follow. But we know it's, you know, difficult to plan on the harbor. And I think that's what's been the holdup, or that's why we haven't been all sort of, let's get back to this master plan, folks, because it is only missing this, this, and that. It's missing the marina planning that is going to be, I think, important and time consuming, and it's going to have that, you know, leadership consultant type of thing that hopefully is a, you know, suitable solution for the community. But yeah, I know what you're asking, Kelly, and I just know that we haven't gone there yet. We have this idea that the DNR and the boat launch is kind of a baby steps back into trust and back into like doing a project successfully. And so there's been, I hope, some momentum in that project that says, you know, we've got a new public access. Now let's focus our attention up in the northwest corner on the breakwater and the docks and the fuel dock and the flow. You know how we've got this dead end breakwater down up, and it's got ecological ramifications. It's got navigation challenges. You know, most people would agree we need to do something to fix the marina, and we just haven't done that yet.
Yeah, I hope someday that we win back the trust of the DNR and that we can maybe proceed to look at a safe harbor. I know Silver Bay has done very well with their marina. It's not large. It's very much contributed to their city. Obviously, they are moving forward trying to enjoy what the lake has to enjoy. They opened up Black's Beach, then they built the campground there. They have the marina. Obviously, none of them are walking space to downtown, to grocery stores, gas stations like we have. And I think that eventually there's revenue to be generated in safety and in reasonable numbers. So I would hope that someday, again, as I talked about last session that we had of council, when I say all inclusive, I think we have to recognize the needs of many different types of recreation and that we should all try to play here well. So I'm hopeful that we can pursue something like that again. And I'm glad to hear that, you know, it's not forgotten. So thanks.
I will say this though, I don't believe there is a safe harbor funding or program currently available through the DNR. When we've been working with them on the boat launch, we've sort of seen that program sunset. Staff have retired. And so as far as funding, I don't believe it would come through a safe harbor type of program, but it would or could come through the legacy funding. And so that would be another impetus to get back to the master plan, brush it up, beef it up in the marina department. And because we know breakwater movements and marina projects cost millions, that could be a potential source of funding.
So Kelly, I just want to add also that we're running through these plans. My idea is that we're going to do this in a somewhat systematic way and bring up these policy documents for the council to look at in this first part of 2021, maybe one every meeting if there's something that's relevant to think about, with the idea that that's preparation for us to reconvene and do some planning at a council level and prioritizing, because it's been a couple of years since you set your priorities and we've made some progress on some, and it's time to revisit that. So this idea of should we dive into the park master plan is definitely something that's on the menu if the council says that's a priority that we want to spend time and resources on. And I think that Dave will probably be taking this to the park board as just putting it at an awareness piece for them as well to think about, is it time to redo the master plan? So everybody can keep that in the back of their minds as we go through these next few meetings and look at some of our other plans and projects that are underway or that we've committed to in the past.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions on the master plan?
I do have to say that I do really respect the work that went into creating the master plan, and also the work that the park board has done to keep it relevant. There have been little changes here and there, and lots of times when the park master plan has come up and has directed a lot of policies since in the time that I've been mayor, and it's been really nice to have something that's as well put together as the park master plan is. It does a good job of directing decisions and policy and things. So I appreciate also, Dave, that you're willing to use it as a guiding document in that process as well.
Well, thank you, Jay. Well, so we'll just move ahead quickly then to the Parkside public access, and we'll take a look at one of these. Oh, shoot. Trying to do a screen share on that fact sheet. No one's seeing that yet? I'm terrible at this, Patrick.
There's a couple of options, Dave. Whenever it doesn't work, I just switch between the different.
Yeah, I'll try. I'm on the share a window, share a tab, best for video. Ooh, that might be good. Anything?
Nope.
Sorry.
Does screen work? The first choice?
Well, I might have lost my fact sheet, and so I can just shoot from the hip on this one. I've been talking about it enough. Parkside access. So we've had this discussion with the DNR ever since about 2012, like I alluded to in the master plan. When they saw us confirm our location for public access down here at the end of the road, they came in 2012, 2011 maybe even, and said, hey guys, how about we redo the public access to what is officially at the Coast Guard station and transfer the agreement and make it over here in the park, hence the name Parkside. We said, yes, that sounds fine. We signed a partnership agreement, I believe it was 2011 or 2012, that was to the effect of that, language transferring the boat launch to the park from the Coast Guard lot. The city would continue to own the land. We continue to own the parkland. The DNR would simply be the provider of the access. And so similar to the project that made that access in the mid 80s over at the Coast Guard station, where we own the parking lot, we own the boat ramp, the DNR built it for us, we maintain it. That would be the arrangement down here at the park. So for 10 years or so now, we've been working with the DNR on that idea. We had a concept plan. Oh, and I wish I had it. I'll try it. I got to have this up to be able to point at. So, no. How's this? I'm sharing my entire screen.
It's not going.
Oh, well, amateurs.
Is it on a page in the packet that we could refer to?
Yeah. It's a plan view of the location.
It's page 18.
Page 19, right?
It's almost there. So anyway, it's down at the end of the road. There it is. Here it is. I know this is going to work now. Ta-da! Right? Everybody seeing this?
Yep.
There it is.
Here it is. So I don't know what this date is. So here we are, 2020. This is a pretty recent, I believe last May or so, we have the most recent version of this up. But I've got one showing about a 2012 date. It was a concept that had improvements to the breakwater. This is like I hope everyone sort of knows what we're talking about. We've got the public works garages over here, right? We've got the water treatment intake plant right here, the old dog pound about here, and the existing ramp on the bay in the southwest corner of the harbor. So this is now, again, like a third or fourth iteration of planning where we originally depicted a bigger parking lot. This little site count up here, the parking summary, we're down to 30 parking spaces, parking stalls, and these are the truck trailer counts, long pull through stalls, long, nose in, back out stalls. And so it provides for about 30 parking spaces for truck trailers. It's a scaled down version of what we originally started to work with, which showed 50 spaces. There was an additional like 20 or so spaces over on the west side here where the existing public works are currently on their way out. So given budgeting and perhaps land use, but mostly budgeting, this is now just showing a 30 space lot. This is paved. There's quite a bit of stormwater BMPs as a part of this. Currently we've just got this eroding gravel lot that on a busy Saturday could see up to 20 or 30 truck trailers. So we feel like parking's adequate. It's not really built for the 100-year idea that maybe, it'll be twice as busy in 50 years from now. There is that. But the breakwater we know is built for 100-year storms. This is the piece that has been highly engineered and is out for bid right now, actually. So the project itself is now into two phases. We've got a phase one breakwater construction that, as I say, is right now being bid. In fact, the bids are closed this week. The DNR is opening bids. And so within the month, the contract for the improved breakwater will be awarded. And we expect the contractor to get to work in March, hopefully, moving heavy materials down the frozen road. As you see, it's a expanded breakwater. The current rock is this portion you can see in the underlay is about 100 feet of rubble mound breakwater, which offers minimal protection, particularly from southeasterly blows, as the greater breakwalls in the harbor do not overlap. We get quite a bit of wave activity coming in here when the east wind blows. And so the idea of this L-shaped or J-shaped improvement is to mitigate those easterly waves and to maintain a 6-inch, or I think it was half a foot or less, is the safe launch and retrieval conditions that the DNR engineers into their public accesses. So as I say, the breakwater plans are separate from the landside parking lot plans. They are ready to go. They're collecting bids. They're going to award that contract this month. And so this season, this June, work will begin on this improved, expanded break wall. It'll be capped. It'll be concrete capped. It'll be accessible for all. That was a big piece of this. We wanted to create a showcase of a stroll out on the bay, take a selfie, talk about history. There's several artifacts right off of this wall of old shipwrecks that we hope to interpret. But this will be a concrete capped, pedestrian friendly break wall. And to give you an idea of scale, so here's our old 100-foot of rock. It'll go about another 100 feet to the northwest. So it's not a very big breakwater. Altogether, we're looking at only a couple 100 feet, and it's designed to be no higher than the existing rocks. And with that capped concrete idea, there'll be a parapet wall, a seating wall, actually, very curved, hopefully very stunning architecturally as far as concrete. We expect it to go well, but there'll be this knee wall that'll provide a little more protection from those topping waves and give folks a chance to sit down out here. There's provisions for possible public art right out the end of it as a way of saying, hey, walk out here, see this art. So we're really excited about this break wall, as it not only provides protection for the boaters, but it provides pedestrian access out onto the bay. So that's commencing. That's going to happen this summer. The site's going to be closed. The access is going to be closed. It's going to be very disruptive. The boaters are not going to have a easy launch this summer. The one across the bay will continue to function. That's going to be open, obviously, but the parking is going to become a major issue in afternoons in July and August. So we know that going into things. We're going to try to do some PR around it, maybe try to save some stalls over at the eastern lot, but it's going to be one of those deals where people are going to be disrupted. Parking, boat launching is going to be difficult this summer and possibly next summer. We don't forecast too far ahead on the parking lot improvements, but there's a pretty good chance this is a 2-year project and things are going to be disrupted until mid to late fall of 2022. And it's been a long time coming. There was a fact sheet I think you all had a chance to review, like a sort of a one-page sheet. We've been shopping that around for bonding throughout the 2016, 17, 18 municipal bonding sessions. I presented twice at Split Rock Lighthouse to the Senate bonding committees on the potential to get this funded. There's been a lot of back and forth funding on this with the DNR, where initially they thought maybe they could cover it with boater dollars. But then they didn't have enough once we were getting fancy with the breakwater, as this is probably a $2 million piece of breakwater. And that's about what we got funded right now from the state. $2 million was what was finally appropriated in 2018 in municipal bonds for the city of Grand Marais. We've, of course, just turned that money right over to the DNR, and they have been executing the work, the planning and design work from that money. It'll also hopefully fund the break wall. But I think it'll run out once the parking lot is fully designed. The DNR has been on board, though, with providing boater dollars for the parking lot build out. So I'm still a little shaky on the funding on the fully funded project, as we don't know prices for the parking lot. We'll certainly see these bids for the break wall this month. And so depending on the level of bidding, I just got an email from the DNR this afternoon that said they're opening the bids tomorrow. Of course, they'll be in touch, but they had a lot of interest in this project, which was good news. We wanted multiple bids. And so this is all happening right now as far as the break wall. The plans for the land side are at about 50%. And so that'll still continue to be developed. There's some aquatic invasive species stall that needs further tuning, as well as non-motorized watercraft access that would provide for like a ADA compliant kayak canoe launch adjacent to the boat launch. Those are kind of the two pieces on the land side right now that are a bit undefined. The vault toilet, I think we've moved ahead to maybe just porta potties, which is what we currently offer, and maybe the idea of offering a changing station, just a screen, primitive screening for the kayak changing stations as a part of the porta potty slab. So still work to be done on the land side, but the DNR is the project manager on this. They're got the permits in place from all the agencies necessary that are involved, the MPCA, the Army Corps, the historical, SHPO, those sorts of organizations. The DNR is coordinating all the work with this. The Land Trust is on board. Of course, they've been all along. We've included them in the plan reviews. And this has been, one of those 10-year deals that's finally coming to fruition from the master plan as we, move forward. And with that idea, like we talked about earlier, that we're working in the water with the DNR, and hopefully it'll be satisfactory.
Very cool. Do anybody on the council have any questions for Dave on the boat launch project as it is? Just before, yeah. So I sat in on a number of those meetings when we started to make the legitimate planning for when the construction would begin, and I was impressed that not everyone that I've worked with or talked with at the DNR has really seemed like they've been like problem solvers and innovative and ready to roll. But the guys that were put in charge of this project were like, they looked at the whole picture, looked at our geographic location, took that all into consideration, which is part of why they were talking about moving materials and equipment and getting everything staged before the road bans went on, because there's no way they'd be able to haul the tons and tons and tons of stone up here with the road restrictions on. And so that I was pretty pleased with that, and I'm glad to hear, Dave, the update that they're moving forward with with that plan, so that they're going to be able to keep up with the schedule and make sure that everything gets done on time. So, or at least in some semblance of time, as things are up here. So, any other comments from the council on the boat launch project?
Thank you for your time tonight, Dave, and all your work in this. I know it's a lot of communications.
Oh, you're very welcome, Kelly. I enjoy it.
Cool. So if there's no more comments for Dave, then we'll cut him loose and we'll move on in the agenda. Does that sound like a plan, everybody?
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your public service. Have a good night.
Good night. All right. So after that riveting conversation, I think it's great to see all that stuff going on with the park and moving forward on that stuff. We do have a power purchase agreement for the that we have to take a look at for SIMPA. SIMPA is our electricity provider, obviously, and I'll let Mike explain this. I went back and forth with him a little bit before the meeting to make sure that I understood exactly what it's saying. And the words that I used to describe it, although I think says exactly what he said, he thinks says something different. So I'm going to let him say it with his words, and that will make hopefully more sense to you guys as we go through it. So go ahead.
Thanks, Jay. If there's any energy left in the meeting, I'll prepare to remove it at this point as we talk about PURPA and other fun things. The Public Utilities Commission met last week, and this is the first meeting of the new 3 members there. Of course, Ann Posses joined last year, but Tracy Benson and Craig were new. And here we are talking about contracts and using all kinds of acronyms and, federal laws and state laws and agencies and everything else. It's hard to know just how much background is necessary to make it all understandable. So we're just going to keep this as basic as possible. SIMPA is our power provider. We have a contract with SIMPA that is an all needs contract, meaning we are required to purchase all of our wholesale power from SIMPA. SIMPA is a joint action agency that's made up of 18 different cities. We're one of them. on the smaller side of the scale, but there's a couple others our size. And then Rochester is the largest one, and SIMPA is located in Rochester. That's where they're housed. Southern Minnesota Municipal Power, it's a long story as to how we got to be a part of that. Should be happy to tell you at a different time. So this power purchase agreement requiring us to buy all of our power wholesale from SIMPA creates a bit of a conflict when there's also a federal law that requires us to compensate what are called qualified facilities, meaning folks that have their own power generation in town, such as solar panels on the co-op, for instance. And so the laws around those qualified facilities of solar panels or other local generation are, as long as they're 40 kilowatts or less, we have some obligations to pay them for any net power that they're sending us. So power that they produce in excess of what they use. So that means we're buying power from the co-op, for instance, although we never do because they always use more than they generate. But if they were going to generate more than they use, we have to pay them for it. And this amended and restated power purchase agreement is how we're going to reconcile that. So basically, it provides a formula where SIMPA will reimburse us for a portion of what we're reimbursing some of our customers. Simple as that. And if you're interested in what the formula is, it's in the contract. And they even went as far as creating 3 hypothetical situations with customer A, B, and C and talking about how they play out differently. That's the extent of it. Because our power purchase agreement was both executed by the Public Utilities Commission and the City Council as separate entities, when we do this amendment, we have to also have it approved by the Public Utilities Commission and the City Council. That's why we're here in front of you. So hopefully you will take the Public Utilities Commission's recommendation and without any further ado, approve the amended and restated power purchase agreement.
Does anyone have any questions about that?
I will say this, I will make the motion that we approve. I do have a question, but I can leave that for the discussion piece.
Okay, so there's a motion. Is there a second for that motion?
I would second.
Okay, motion and a second. Let's move on to discussion. Kelly, what's your question?
So do we have, I know you listed the co-op as one, and I don't need to know names, but do we have other businesses or many homes within the city that this would apply to that we may owe something back? And
yeah, is there anyone in the meeting who would like to admit to that?
I think I see someone.
Yeah, so I actually have to,
mayor, our current mayor.
I have to ask Chris whether or not I have to abstain on this one because it could potentially financially benefit me.
It doesn't have anything to do with your relationship with us, and so I don't see how you would have to abstain from it. This is just with our deal with SIMPA. It doesn't have anything to do with our contracts with individual customers.
Okay.
So we do have a number of individual customers who have a qualified facility. It's generally solar. As a matter of fact, I think it's entirely PV solar that's what those are made of. It's pretty rare that we're ending up paying significant sums of money. My guess is that we're going to end up compensating customers somewhere in the hundreds of dollars per year in total right now, and SIMPA is going to be then paying us a smaller portion of that.
How does our public, I know we've talked about it, Mike, but I need to refresh, our public works building, how does that play into all this?
It doesn't, and because we have this agreement with SIMPA that says we have to buy all of our power from them, we actually had to create a separate agreement with SIMPA wherein they purchase the power that those panels create and then sell it back to us. It's the same sort of deal we have where at our power plant, when it's operating, they own the power that it generates and they sell it back to us. So, and it's also the reason why when we talk about building more solar, we can't just put it on the library and send the library a bill that nets out what the solar panels on the roof are generating, because we've got this obligation to purchase that power directly from SIMPA instead. So we don't own any qualifying facilities because we're the utility as well as the customer, if that makes any sense.
Government's silly.
Yep, I agree, Kelly. That was when the library board brought that up to, to the city councilor, I brought it to Mike to talk about it, was saying like, hey, we've got this great south facing roof. We've got tons of space. We don't use very much electricity. Why can't we just plug in a bunch of panels and then just be neutral? And it was like, not so easy as that. I still have hope, but that's something for the future. The library could totally do it, Michael. Anyway, any other questions about this, about the PPA agreement? Everybody feel like they understand it it's not changing really any of the compensation or anything from the way it is right now. It's just putting it into a more like the proper form it needs to be in. So, okay, seeing no further discussion on it, we'll go to the roll call vote on the motion. Anton, your vote.
Aye.
Kelly, your vote.
Aye.
Michael, your vote.
Aye.
Craig, your vote.
Aye.
I am an aye as well. Motion carries, and we will move on to the next thing on our agenda, which is council and staff reports. So, continuing through as we did, Anton, you're up first.
I have nothing.
Kelly, you're up second.
Nothing.
Michael, you're up third.
I kind of have nothing, but I feel like I should say something. The library board did meet, and we just met. We had our elections for officers and set our calendar, and that's what we did. So.
Great, thank you. Craig, your update?
I was unable to make the park board meeting on Tuesday. I had to go to Duluth. But I think we have a new member now, Francis Jarko. And about the only other thing, there was a special event application. I don't know how it ended up, but I think I can cover that at the next meeting. I'll bring you guys up to date for that for May. It's something that has happened here before, so it looks like a pretty good thing. So I'll bring you guys up to date on that at the next meeting.
Okay.
Craig, I think that Dave included some info on it in the weekly update last Friday. So
yeah, he did. You guys all got it anyway, but I was just, yeah. Okay.
Since Mike did mention the weekly updates, I want to say, guys, hats off. Mike, Patrick, Kim, whoever's putting all of it, all the department heads, obviously, those have been really helpful. There has been some really good substance in some of those. I know sometimes there's not a lot to report, but I am just very appreciative. And I know, Patrick, you're moving forward with getting those out to the public eventually. I don't know how many you have had sign up, but I just want to again say thank you, guys. I think this is a great way to move forward to keep us informed, being we only meet twice a month. And it helps in transparency and openness and answering questions for the public. So hats off to you guys. I really like it. Thank you for your efforts.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right. So I think I'm the only one that has an update left. Active Living Steering Committee met a week ago. It was good to see the faces and get the names and everything like that. And we talked a lot about the same initiatives that we talked about in the city council meeting. Trying to do some planning for the spring, identifying different different projects that have been on their list of initiatives, and trying to figure out how to move forward with those. So this was pretty much just a formative meeting. More work to be coming in the future. The bi-weekly or weekly emergency management meeting has talked a lot about COVID, about that kind of about the vaccination rates in our community, which are just amazing. So thank you everyone who's getting vaccinated, and good gracious, sign up for those slots. Like, just keep going and getting signed up. Turnout has been amazing, and now people are on their second rounds of vaccines, and it's been good. It's what we all have to do to make sure that this community stays safe. So, yeah, go ahead.
Jay, I was going to say, with that, remind people to continue to use their personal protective equipment.
Oh, yes.
Hand sanitizer, wash your hands, your mask, because while getting the vaccine is good, it's a good thing for you. It doesn't prevent you from transmitting it. And I think that's not out there enough that people don't understand. You can still have the vaccination and transmit COVID. So continue to do the hand washing, the sanitizing, the mask wearing, those kind of things when you're in larger gatherings or out in public. Be aware of that. Make sure you're taking care of your health.
Absolutely. Yep. It's that whole community part of it. You're not doing it to protect yourself. You're doing it to protect somebody else. So that's really great. Thanks for saying that, Kelly. So that's really all I have. I don't know if Patrick, Mike, Kim, if you guys have any updates that you'd like to bring up. Lots of shaking heads.
I was just gonna encourage everyone who might be watching, or anyone, encourage your friends and family and neighbors to sign up for the new newsletter. And the link to sign up is on our city webpage or our Facebook and Twitter accounts.
Very cool. Last call.
I'm going to get a new puppy tomorrow.
Well, hot diggity.
This is Ginger.
Oh, that's pretty cute.
She's a fox red lab.
Nice. And just for everybody who wants to, speaking on the dog topic, for everybody who's paying attention, my dog Blue has made a complete recovery from her wolf encounter. She's got a funny lump of swelling on her neck that I'm going to go get Lance tomorrow, just like kind of the last thing before gets the clear bill of health. But she is a little more skittish around, other dogs and even strangers now. So I'm just going to be keeping her on a much shorter leash and making sure she feels safe and seeing what we can do from there. So thanks for letting me share about dogs too. All right. Anything else? Last call. All right. Thank you for the meeting tonight. Have a great night. We are adjourned.
Good night. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.